Welcome to Today in Prophecy, daily news in 15 minutes or less. Daily news with the Bible giving us perspective. Check this out. All I can say is the news that has come out in the last 24 hours is pretty unbelievable. It's just wow. India missiles strike Pakistan. It was just yesterday we said looks like India and Pakistan may get ready to blow. Next article, escalation amid all-out war threats. This is speaking of India and Pakistan. Trump announces U.S. will stop bombing the Houthis. Earlier today, I read that Trump said, hey, the Houthis have surrendered, therefore all is good. Not so fast. Israel blindsided by Trump's Houthi announcement, sources tell the Post. And then check this out. The Netanyahu administration says, hey, we are going to take over Gaza. The cabinet-approved plans, this is coming out of the Times of Israel, include conquering Gaza, holding territories, officials say. The Security Cabinet last night unanimously approved the operational plan for the next phase of the campaign in the Gaza Strip, which would include the conquering of Gaza and holding the territories, says an Israeli official. The plan presented by the IDF Staff Lieutenant General Eyal Zamir will see the IDF take control of territory in Gaza, move the civilian population toward the south, attack Hamas, and prevent the terror group from taking control of humanitarian aid. The Security Cabinet also approved overwhelmingly a plan to distribute humanitarian aid in Gaza that would prevent Hamas from taking control of supplies and would destroy its governing capabilities. The plan will not yet be implemented since the cabinet determined that there is currently enough food inside Gaza. In the meeting, says the official, both Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Zamir said that the plan would achieve both the defeat of Hamas and the freeing of hostages. Netanyahu told the forum that he is working to move forward on U.S. President Donald Trump's plan to allow Gazans to emigrate voluntarily, and that he is in discussions with a number of countries. Folks, as you look at all of these things are unfolding, so many things to talk about in our little bit of time here together. But if you understand what the Bible tells us about Gaza, Gaza was the land of the Philistines back at the time of Saul, back at the time of David, back at the time of Samson in the book of Judges. In fact, Gaza was the territory that the tribe of Dan, when all the tribes were split up, there in Shechem, with Jacob, all the tribes were split up and they were given the areas that they were supposed to go to. Dan was supposed to take Gaza. The tribe of Dan, they didn't take Gaza because they said the enemy's too great there, the fighting's going to be too hard, so we won't take Gaza. Listen, all of the areas where God told the tribes of Israel to go, they had to do hard work. They had to deal with the enemies that were there. God told them so. You're going to rout the enemies, I'll give you the victory. And that's how everything is in life. It requires this hard work. Tribe of Dan said, no, we're not really into that. If it's not going to happen by miracle, we just don't want it. So the tribe of Dan, get this, instead of taking the Gaza area, they relocated. They went all the way up north to the area right on the border of Lebanon. If you ever go to Israel, you can check out that area in Tel Dan. We were just there recently. It's where Jeroboam had built the temple up north. And he said, look, you guys don't have to go down south. You don't have to worship in Jerusalem. You can worship up here in Tel Dan at this temple. So he builds temple there. They have the gold calf there. They had all of that different stuff going on in rebellion against the Lord. And if you look at things now, in fact, so the 12 tribes were split, right? You have the 10 tribes to the north, the 2 to the south, Samaria and Judea. And if you look at the areas right now that Israel still deals with, and it's still a problem, guess what? It is those 4 areas. Gaza, where we know about, where Israel's dealing with it right now, and Israel saying, nope, we're going to take it, we're done with it, we've got to fight. You got to fight, you got to deal with the enemy. Gaza, the Tel Dan area, the Golan Heights area, where Dan relocated where they weren't supposed to go. So you have the problem up there where Jeroboam built the temple. Where else do you have the problems? Well, you have the 12 tribes of split, 10 to the north, two to the south, Samaria and Judea, what the world calls the West Bank. Those are the 4 areas of trouble for Israel to this day. And it seems to me, as you look at what's going on, God is making Israel deal with their failures. It's like everything that has happened, it has come back around again. Okay, Israel, what are you going to deal with? The enemy was supposed to be driven from the land. You weren't supposed to compromise with the pagan religions in Judea and Samaria. You weren't supposed to do any of that. The time of Judges, they invited the pagan religions in. At the time after the 12 kingdoms had split, Israel did, and then the southern kingdom, Jordan did, where Assyria had to come in and destroy, and they were used to judge the northern tribes, and the Babylon comes in and deals with Jerusalem at that time. But you look at it and you go, okay, here they are, the same 4 areas, still a problem area for Israel. It's just another one of the things when I look at what's going on in the world today, I look at the direction the Bible says things are going to go in the last days, and I'm thinking it's not a coincidence that God is having Israel deal with these lands, but they are pushing back the enemy. They're realizing, they're waking up, they're realizing, okay, we don't necessarily have anybody that's going to help us. Okay, the Trump administration is the most favorable president that Israel has ever had. Nevertheless, people in Israel, including Netanyahu himself, are saying, hey, if we have to deal with this on our own, we will, and especially with Iran. And Israel has been dealing with Yemen from the south. You look at all of these things. Interesting dynamic, but the day is coming when Israel will turn to the Lord. They will turn to Yeshua. We know that because Daniel chapter 12 teaches us that the power of the holy people will be shattered, and they will turn to the Lord. That's coming during the tribulation period. Everything is going that direction. It's not a coincidence that Israel has to deal with these problem areas right now. Again, in Judea and Samaria, you think of the area of Nablus, where Shechem is. You think of the area of Hebron, which is also Hebron in the Bible, where David was first came into being king as he ruled over the tribe of Judah. Amazing things are happening right now. So much to keep an eye on. But let's move on from there because we have a lot more to talk about. India strikes 9 sites in Pakistan weeks after Kashmir militant attack. You look at this and just is truly an amazing thing to watch what is happening. India says it attacked 9 sites in Pakistan, and Pakistan occupies Jammu and Kashmir. The Indian Armed Forces have confirmed it targeted these sites in Pakistan as part of Operation Sindoor. A statement from the Indian Armed Forces reads, a little while ago, the Indian Armed Forces launched Operation Sindoor, hitting terrorist infrastructure in Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Jammu regarding dealing with the terrorist attacks there. So we're watching what's going on in India and Pakistan. We've been warning about this. It's been heating up. Understand, both India and Pakistan are nuclear power nations. And you start looking at this, check out this next story, simmering tensions. Again, same concept. India launches airstrikes on Pakistan. This is out of the U.S. Sun in huge escalation after threats of all-out war between the two countries. An all-out war between the two nuclear-armed powers could be devastating. Yeah, you think, okay, now think of this. So Jesus himself said in the Olivet Discourse, when the disciples asked him, what's the sign of your coming in the end of the age? He said, be careful that no one deceives you. Many will come in my name saying I am the Christ. And then he went on to describe what other things will look like. By the way, deception is increasing. There's many more people that are claiming to be the Christ, including this Muslim guy who claims to be the Mahdi or the Muslim Messiah or whatever it is he's claiming. Expect a lot more of that. And then we have this. There will be wars and rumors of wars, kingdom against kingdom, nation against nation. There will be earthquakes in various places and famines and pestilences. But be sure that all these are the beginning of sorrows, but the end is not yet. In other words, what Jesus said, we will always have wars and rumors of wars. There will always be pestilences and earthquakes. However, when it comes to the time of the end, they will escalate like birth pains upon a pregnant woman. That's what the term beginning of sorrows is. It's a reference to pregnancy pains. They will escalate in frequency and intensity the closer you get to the end. and they will be converging. Hence, also in the Olivet Discourse, as the words of Jesus recorded in Luke chapter 21, when you see these things begin to take place, in other words, when you see them all converging, look up and lift up your head because your redemption draws near. It doesn't say when you see them completed, but when you see them begin to take place. So you look at this, you have wars and rumors of wars. He says these things must always be. But as you see them escalate like this, folks, we live in a time of great escalation with the threat of war and rumor of war. It is now, we have the threat of nuclear war. We still watch what's going to happen with Ukraine and Russia. What's China going to do? China is in deep, deep trouble over their economy. You wouldn't know that from watching the mainstream media. Mainstream media just wants to report how the tariffs are going to destroy the United States of America and China's going to end up being victorious. No, China is in a deep world of hurt. But what do you do when your country is collapsing? China, will they go to war? I'm thinking they will. I would expect something to happen to Taiwan. So you look at this war and rumor of war. We have threats of nuclear war. Things are escalating. Escalation after threats of all-out war between the two countries, as this last report says. Folks, keep your eyes fixed on Jesus Christ, the author and finisher of our faith. All right, check this out. Next story. Trump announces U.S. will stop bombing the Houthis. The military has struck at least 800 targets in Yemen and killed hundreds of Houthis since March, according to the U.S. Central Command. The United States will stop strikes against Yemen's Houthi group, President Donald Trump announced after a nearly 2-month bombing campaign. Trump, ahead of a meeting with Canadian Prime Minister Carney, said the halt would start immediately. The Houthis approached the administration on Monday night, indicating they want to stop fighting. The military has struck at least 800 targets and so forth. All right, so we have that. I read earlier today that the Houthis said, hey, we surrender. And Trump says, okay, since you've come to that place, we can probably work out something out. We will start bombing you. However, can you even trust these terrorists? Listen, they're Islamic terrorists. They're going to lie. Can you even trust them? Well, Israel doesn't seem to. The Jerusalem Post reports Israel is blindsided by Trump's Houthi announcement, sources tell the Post. They said, please don't bomb us anymore, and we're not going to attack your ships, Trump said. When you start looking, if you think of this with Gaza, you have these constant ceasefires that deal with Hezbollah, deal with the Hamas. This is what they do. We won't shoot anymore. Let's just enter into a ceasefire. Listen, if you stop bombing us, we won't send any more drones to your ships. And Trump says, okay, we'll stop. We'll stop. You kind of wonder, okay, what in the world is really going on? Israel was not informed in advance about Trump's announcement regarding the Houthis, an informed source told the Jerusalem Post. Trump said on Tuesday, that'd be today, that the U.S. will stop bombing the Houthis in Yemen after claiming that the Iran-aligned group agreed to stop interrupting important shipping lanes in the Middle East. The comments came during an Oval Office meeting with Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney when Trump announced that the Houthis have said that they no longer want to fight, but did not elaborate on the message. They said, please don't bomb us anymore, and we're not going to attack your ships, says Trump. There was no immediate response from the Houthis. So you look at this, Israel is saying, wait a minute, what in the world's really going on? We know we can't trust these people. They just fired a missile at us, a ballistic missile. Iran is threatening to destroy us. We are dealing with this all the time. And Trump, now you're saying everybody has to back off? Does that mean Israel has to back off? I'm thinking Israel's boxed into a corner. Folks, we live in amazing days, truly amazing days. Everything is coming together. Things are converging. But above all, do this. When you see these things begin to take place, look up and lift up your head because your redemption draws near. And remember to do this. Keep your eyes fixed on Jesus Christ, the author and finisher of your faith. Listen, I'll see you tomorrow. God bless.